Can you just define the 1% rule for anyone at home that doesn't know exactly what that is?
Yeah. So if I buy a house for 100 grand, I need to get $1,000 per month in rent.
Gross, not profit.
Gross.
Awesome.
Well, it's encouraging to hear that that applies at the unit level of the apartment complex. So for clarity's sake, we're not saying if you buy it for 100 million, it doesn't mean it has to bring in $1 million every single month. What we're saying is the door count here. If it's bought for $100,000 a door, if each average rent of these units is $1,000, it's worth putting through your analysis and looking into deeper. That's where you're saying, write the letter of intent, get that thing under contract. Let the guys then start to the bean counters kind of identify all the exact measurements, make sure that it's a property you want. But if it doesn't, you're throwing that thing out right away. That right there is very, very useful.
If it is 100 million, I'm just trying to understand why the 1% rule wouldn't be like proportional. Wouldn't it still be, if it's $100 million building, you would want it to bring in $1 million gross?
I feel like in multifamily, there would be there's more expenses to take into account than there are with single family, and there's more income sources, right? So with multifamily, you can have income coming in from laundry, from parking, from storage. Like, it's not just the rent versus with residential real estate, your only income sources.
That's true though. That makes sense. Yeah.
When we're spitballing how something feels to us, it makes sense in our head. But if you have to articulate how you got there, you almost got to pull apart the algorithm of your own brain to be like, why did I think that was a bad idea? And hopefully there's actually logic behind what you said. But a lot of like what you're doing, Ryan, when you've looked at so many deals is it will stand out like, oh, that just feels like that's probably good. You don't know why. You couldn't explain it. But when you dive in deeper, you'll be like, oh, that's why. There's inefficiency here. They could bump rents much more than what they realize, or insurance is much higher than what they thought. So they're not going to get this much money. Sometimes you don't know exactly why it feels right, but you know that it does.
Yeah, exactly right. And to your point, David, like the income and the rent is one thing, but then you also have like utility reimbursements, you got other income, and those are really big numbers on multifamily. That's why it doesn't have to meet and match the 1% rule on like the door count. But what I was going with that too, David, is also like knowing the numbers quick. It allows you to be the captain. It allows you to be the guy now in these bigger deals where you have confidence, where you could actually start using crew resource management, which is team resource management, which is actually the broker. Hey, what numbers did you come up with? Hey, what are you showing for the going in yield? Hey, what are you showing debt guide? Like I think people overcomplicate multifamily, and really what I want to instill is saying, hey, look, know the numbers really quick, so that way you can communicate with the brokers with confidence. That way you can communicate with the debt with confidence, because the bigger the deal you get, the more partners you have. And this is actually a safeguard in these bigger deals, because the debt's going to thoroughly look at the deal. The broker, my competition right now is these big institutions, whether it's Blackstone or Starwood, or you can go down the whole list. These guys are very, very professional, and everything has to check a box. So the sooner you guys can get to these bigger deals, the less risk or the less chance of missing something actually occurs, which is crazy to think about.
Man, that is kind of nuts. At what point, just out of curiosity, at what point will you be a big institution? I mean, you guys are growing at such a fast pace.
Well, look, we slowed down our buying over the last 8-10 months because of this shift. We think that there's going to be a huge opportunity in the next 12 to 24 months, especially as, debt and maturities and where interest rates are, to buy assets at a great basis. What I mean by that is if you can buy a deal for $225 a unit and it costs $300 with inflation and everything else to build, we think that long term over 10 years, those are great buys. But look, we're competing with them now. It really is just a function of how do you grow and scale the correct way. We're not in a hurry, but we know we'll get there. So, we're just really patient. We are very conservative. I know a lot of people look at Grant, Cardinal Capital. Instagram is one thing, but when he goes and invests in money, like Grant has a lot of money invested in these deals. Like he literally takes his money, invests in these deals. For me personally, all my net worth is invested in these deals. So we know what will come. It's just a matter of time. And the cool thing about it is we're doing it with retail investors. We're doing it with partners. Like when I say retail investors, this is just everyday folks. This is just like me and my family and David and Rob, and like there's no middleman. So it may take a little bit longer, but when we do get there, it's going to be together, which is super awesome for us.
It's amazing, man. What a journey. What a journey. I'm excited.